Now then, let's join Uche Okoronkwo for an in-depth look at the business of gaming in Africa on TechSpot. It's our new segment featuring tech and innovation across the continent.
Hi there and welcome to TechSpot, where we sniff out the groundbreaking new concepts in technology disrupting traditional sectors. I'm Uche Okoronkwo, and this week we're taking you into the world of gaming in Africa. Now, if you haven't already noticed, digital media consumption in Africa is growing at an unprecedented pace. And tapping into this, video game developers have now become major competition for television and movies on the continent. And the increasing penetration of mobile applications has now opened up the gaming market even further to a whole new range of new players that are providing local platforms for internationally produced games, and of course the creation of games that resonate with local fans. Well, here in Kenya, GWA Studios is building a developer hub for video game creators, players and distributors, and TechSpot is now taking a look at what the platform has to offer. The year is 2062. In this post-apocalyptic future, the world has gone dark and grown barren. Climate change has washed away the megacities of Europe, and the only hope lies in Africa, the only place where the sun still shines and mankind can survive. Ophelia, granddaughter of Lake Turkana's revolution leader Lion Lapao, and autistic genius Ulysses embark on a mythical quest to save mankind in pursuit of a brighter future for their unborn child. This is the premise of Usoni, one of Africa's few interactive story-based video games. Inspired by what was initially a TV documentary about Lake Turkana's El Molo ethnic tribe, and then a script for a film adaptation of the story, developers at Kenya's GWA Studios are creating a gameplay experience that mimics internationally known adventure games such as Blade Runner or Far Cry New Dawn.
Africa is just getting started within that industry. But what I'm very hopeful about is the global community is always open to collaborations, sharing information, working within the continent to be able to develop story-driven games that are focused on Africa, because there's a hunger for local African content globally, and people are trying to tap into that, whether it's through support or local game developers developing within the continent. So I think it's looking very good.
Max Musau heads the team of young creatives, visual artists and gaming enthusiasts at GWA Studios. He says because Africa remains marginalized in the global video game industry, GWA made a conscious decision to explore unique African story-driven games.
Drink. It's water. Real water.
I think COVID has really brought the attention now to home entertainment, and we took the advantage to ramp up our esports events, simply because people had a lot more time in the house and they're looking for more engagement. And it has also shifted the focus also now to the African developer, and is forcing them now to kind of develop more games more often and at a higher quality as well. So that focus that has shifted into home entertainment has really accelerated a lot of things within the world of gaming.
An entrepreneur and avid gamer, Max started off with the goal of bringing tech communities together and lowering the barriers to learning technology and code. In 2020, he and his team founded GWA to kick off the Usoni project, recruiting a dozen young professionals. By early 2021, the first part of Usoni was released for PC and Android.
We are a very young team. We're about just coming up on our first year. Usoni has been our first focus. This year we have one other development and one other game we have in our production development, which is called Michi Michi, which is around the story of Wangari Maathai.
GOA Studios is part of a renaissance in Africa's game development space, where young developers are finding opportunities to stretch their skills and also earn a stable income through the digital economy. Developers like Telvin, who is now working on the second version of the Usoni game, which will be developed in full 3D. He's using some of the latest software in game development. Unreal Engine software seamlessly blends live and digital content, integrating computer graphics and live action footage in real time.
That's good. Hardware is always kind of like the choke point. Hardware is very expensive to be able to get a development PC. A lot of developers struggle around the concept of how do I get the right hardware that's able to run, create games and edit the games in a very comfortable and that brings out the best gaming experience.
Telvin is part of a new crop of homegrown talent that is culturally and technically aligned to the needs of the African market.
It's been a really interesting process, especially how I looked at it was adopting the way movies adopt novels. So that's how we approached it, because we were trying to see how to adapt this book into a game. Knowing what makes you tick as a gamer really helped. Things like God of War really helped in, you see, when you have two characters, having complex characters in a game. That's what God of War inspired us to do, having complex characters, because they said just having a simple story is enough, and our simple story was a journey. Ophelia is moving from Europe to Africa. The first step was now to decide what aspects we want to be gameplay. That means the sessions that the players are playing, and those sessions we want it to be cinematic, where they're just watching the story and cover.
Do you have your passes?
We haven't even.
This is just the beginning for Usoni. Part 2 and 3 of the game, which are scheduled for release in 2022, will delve deeper into the visual and narrative potential of the story.
We've decided now to change it up, just to make the story more personal. So we just decided to do it 3D. And I get most story-based games are usually in 3D. I think that's a decision. That's why we chose that, because there's a certain factor that 3D gives you in terms of telling stories that's really makes you as a player more engaged to it.
It's a very popular game.
But while GOA is slowly finding its place in the world of game developers, the company is quickly gaining ground in the fast-growing, major money-making competitive video gaming space. It is tapping into Africa's new obsession with mobile gaming through its esports platform.
I need to get 2 kills. So our esports platform currently has 750 plus gamers, mostly on mobile. We mostly focus on Call of Duty Mobile. We hold events every month with prizes from $200 all the way up to $1,000.
Skeptic, the OG. Peep through the tank.
So we partnered with Activision to be able to host our own local competitions. That way we can collaborate with them to be able to get our players at the global level. Still, there's a lot of ways to go in terms of having local servers to reduce kind of the ping time within the games, to allow our local players to compete at a competitive level. But at the moment, the first step is to be able to partner with them and have our players within their ecosystem and benefiting and thriving within their ecosystem.
Despite being a relatively new industry in Kenya, the social online gaming market, which was worth over $20 million in 2018, is expected to more than double by 2023. The reality is video gaming is still an expensive affair. The price of gaming consoles ranges from $200 to $500, locking out the average young Kenyan. Most local gamers rely on gaming lounges. But that is changing, as research shows that mobile's high penetration rate and portability now dominates the future of gaming. And during the COVID-19 lockdowns, GUA is one of the many African studios taking advantage of the stay-at-home period to build mobile gaming on its esports platform.
We are newcomers, yet the base we chose to appeal to surpassed the people who'd been there before us. I'll be honest, when we started the esports side, we were struggling to find sponsors. We were being turned away at most doors because most people didn't understand exactly what we're doing. Either that, or the feedback we were getting is we're not doing anything new. Yet we went into mobile in a situation where most people weren't even concentrating on mobile gaming. Mobile gaming was not even a thing in 2020. It wasn't a big thing. It took us 3 months only to put an audience of 1,000 gamers in one place where we communicate with them. Then the word of mouth did its own thing. 3 months from March 2020 to around June 2020. Word of mouth did its own thing, and we're, wow, where we are at now.
And according to Max, the growing audience for esports has now caught the attention of Africa's corporates.
So we're working with Safaricom, particularly Safaricom Base at the moment, to provide our content on their platform to be able to generate revenue to kind of support our activities, operations, and grow our price pool as well. So esports content is now a big thing, and we want to distribute this as widely as possible so other ordinary Kenyans can see what opportunities are available as an esports player and what the local esports scene looks like. There is a little bit of hesitance on the part of corporates to support African mobile gaming, but because of the growth, I don't think they can't afford to ignore us for very long. As long as we kind of keep on our efforts, keep climbing up the ladder, with our visibility, I think we'll be able to win them over to our side. But the problem still remains the issue of having local servers on the continent of Africa to reduce ping time for players when they are competing at the global level.
Now, what is becoming clear is that mobile gaming is truly the future of gaming in Africa. While other African markets such as Kenya still lag behind South Africa and of course the rest of the world in esports, they are quickly catching up. And that's because they're now benefiting from more affordable mobile data and a growing market of young people with access to smartphones. But still, is Africa really ready for a boom in its esports space?
According to a 2020 GSMA intelligence report, Sub-Saharan Africa's mobile industry has largely risen to the challenges of keeping individuals connected during the COVID-19 pandemic. As of 2019, there were about 272 million mobile internet users in the region. It's expected 475 million to be connected by 2025. This means that almost half of the population is expected to subscribe to mobile services. However, some 800 million people still are not connected to mobile internet yet. Nevertheless, as the proportion of the population without smartphones gets smaller and smaller, gaming developers now have a greater opportunity to reach out. And they have the products. Nielsen Superdata Research estimated that mobile games generated over $60 billion in 2019, accounting for close to 60% of the video game industry's total revenue that year. Games and esports analytics and market research company Newzoo found that mobile revenues accounted for more than 50% of the global games market in 2018.
It is indisputable then that because mobile gaming is a strong contender in the video game industry, Africa is poised to grow its share in the global esports market, which pulled in over $1 billion in 2019. And some of the continent's most promising stars are in East Africa. Sylvia Gathoni, known as Queen Arrow, is Kenya's first female professional esports athlete. Ranking 13th in Kenya, Queen Arrow is the first woman in East Africa to be sponsored by a global brand.
What usually happens is that you get support in terms of apparel, in terms of payment for, if you need to travel for international tournaments, they'll cater for your trips. And, in return, you have to give your best in terms of building your brand and, being at the top of your game. I got signed to my first team, that's to say Exit Gaming. They're based in New Jersey in the United States. I stuck with them for 2 years until January of 2020. I joined a different team, but I left in July because I needed to focus on finishing university. Then in January of this year, I joined my new team, UYU, and I've been with them since then. I'd say it's a lot of effort, especially being from a region that tends to be overlooked in the gaming space. Yes, you can make money off of tournaments, and you can also make money off of, as I said, being an influencer in terms of making content on social media and on platforms like Twitch and YouTube. And stuff like brand endorsements also goes a long way in cementing your foothold as in terms of making a living off of professional gaming. Kenya is making that, small but sure steps in making sure that gaming is a recognized, I'd say, and activity. But I feel as compared to the rest of the world, we're still lagging behind because we don't have these companies investing properly in the space as needed. If you compare it to a place like South Korea, we've even found that the government itself has, put incentives that make it possible for people to make living off of pro gaming. Here in Kenya, we haven't seen any incentives from the government because we still find that we are under a punitive tax regime that makes gaming an expensive hobby / career to get into.
The simple fact that Africa's esports space is now attracting investor attention means that it is game on for the industry. Investors are now looking beyond vibrant gaming markets like South Africa to growing industries like Egypt, Nigeria, and Kenya. And as the continent grows its competitive space, the prospects for the development and distribution of homegrown games expands even further.